Well, this is a very, very, very sad sight, isn't it? Oh boy. My variegated pink lemon tree has fallen. It has broken badly, and I don't think there's any coming back from that. Now, being the person I am, an experimental optimist, I'll tape it up, but I'm going to cut off 95% of the leaves and try to root some of them, even though I know that that is not really a thing. I'm going to try because why not? But yeah, I'm laughing a little now, but I wasn't yesterday when I found this. Typically, our winters only get down to the low 30s Fahrenheit. We once in a while, like maybe 3 days of winter, get down to maybe 28 degrees Fahrenheit, which is fine for even my citrus. They've all done really well, and this pink variegated lemon is rated down to 20 degrees Fahrenheit. However, despite being tied up at several places, it split right down there near the base. And there are many, many branches at the top that are super healthy. So like I said, probably won't root. They don't typically do that, but I'm gonna try. Our weather has not been typical this year. In fact, we've had a week where several days were down at 23 degrees Fahrenheit. But that still would have been fine for this tree. What did this tree in was the wind. We often do get strong winds here in the area I live. However, not the kind we got this week. We just really got some super strong winds. And some of my collard trees did fine, but what you can't tell because they're so full is that a lot of them lost many branches as well. This one right here lost a lot of branches, but they're so full it doesn't really matter. They just grow continuously, so I'm not really worried about them. I have them all over. And a lot of the plants, the low growing ones, don't have any problem with the wind. But tall, thin trees do. And, you know, this actually was tied up in several other places with a different kind of material because I don't really like that. That it's not plastic, but it's some version of it. It's meant for plants, and I don't like it. So I had it also tied up with some twine at 3 places, but it ripped that right off. I mean, the winds were super, super strong. And it was overnight. It came up overnight. In the morning, the winds had died down. It was still windy, but not like it had been in the gale force it was overnight. So I came out in the morning to take care of the ducks and chickens, and that's what I found. Not pleasant, but you know, you make the best of it. And that is the only major damage. My purple tree kale did lose several branches because that's just the way of these. They have long, thin branches. So what I did is I came in and preventatively cut off several more that had been much taller than they had gone up to like 6 or 7 feet. I cut them down, and what they'll do, as you can see right here, is they're already sending out new leaves. You can see it on that one too. And so they'll come right back. And actually, I like to do that. Cut one down low there, because this is what happens when you cut them back. I've shown in other videos, like the one I'll put up in a card and down below in the description, is if you prune them way back, they will send out new growth wherever you prune them. And then you end up with bushy, which is what I really want. So this kind of forced me to do that in more places. And I did it with 2 other purple tree kales. And you know what that did? That gave me a lot of kale, because when you do a pruning, as that other video will show you, you have to take off most of the leaves and just leave maybe a few right at the top. But all of these, if I was cutting this one off, would come off. Because, you know, when you first put it in the ground, it can't support all those leaves because it doesn't have any roots. It does root quickly. Purple tree kale does. Probably most kale, but not certainly this one. But it still can't support, say, all of these leaves. So I'd take off 80% of those at least. And what that leaves you with is a lot of great leaves. I mean, this purple tree kale is absolutely delicious all year round, but especially in the winter. And this is new growth where it hasn't gotten really big leaves yet, but they taste good whether they're small or big. And so I have a lot of material for a great stir fry tonight because I have a lot of kale. Or I can freeze it. I can flash freeze it. And that's wonderful too, because then you can pull it out, say on a rainy, stormy day when you don't want to go out and cut fresh, you've got some in the freezer. So it's not all bad. I had just enough time to do this before I had errands to do yesterday. I did already root a few branches and of the lemon tree, and I'm going to do the rest today. And like I said, probably nothing will come of it. But a lot of times when I do something like that, it's more for me, it makes me feel like I did what I could. And then, you know, a few weeks pass and then I'm like, well, even if it doesn't work, I tried. And the trauma of what actually happened has passed. And like I said, I sound a lot more cheerful now. Yesterday was not so cheerful when I came out and saw it because my dad gave me that tree. He's going to be very sad and upset when I tell him about it. Oh, well. Hey, maybe I could find another one and plant it before my dad comes to visit. That's like with, you know, the story about if your kid's goldfish dies and you replace it, they'll never know. I never had to do that, but I've heard about that, and it sounds like it might work, but that would be deceptive, and I'm not really a deceptive person. No, I'll probably just tell him. Used to be a landscaper and a nursery owner. He knows sometimes the wind does these things. You know, Mother Nature is capricious. He'll just say I should have tied it up better. And you know, he's probably right. I probably didn't tie it up well enough. Here's some of the purple tree kale that I cut off of those tall trees. And you can see these were the tips and they already have leaves on them. Here's just some branches and you can see the new leaves coming out. So I'm really hopeful, and I put them in containers because that's always handy. I can give them away, and if I know wind is coming, I can move them out and get them in a protected spot. The alyssum doesn't seem to mind this really, really cold weather or all the rain we've been getting pouring down for a week. Carrots are looking great in all this cold and rain. They don't mind it at all. They're loving it. And they're about ready to start harvesting. Super excited about that. Walking onions are doing fine, and new ones are sprouting up with some new growth. Garlic is coming up. Well, hello, chickens. How are you this morning, ladies? Are you finding lots of worms in all of this wet ground? What I wanted to show you real quick, as we move past the thyme and the oregano and more walking onions and some more thyme, this is lime thyme, is all of these. And I'm going to do a little project in my next video about these. These are borage plants. There's a bunch of little seedlings there. And they spread naturally. And I need to move some of these to different places in the garden because they're very nutritious. They really build nitrogen in the soil and are great for all your other plants. And they're pretty too. They have some beautiful, small, dainty-like blue flowers. They're bell-like. They sort of hang downward, like sort of like an abutilon, but much smaller. And the bees absolutely adore them, and that's helpful for your plants too, of course. I'll see if I can find a picture of some of the borage in bloom, so you'll see what they look like. I'm going to spread those out around the garden, as I'm going to do in one of my next videos with my artichokes, which are loving this weather, as you can see. But yeah, I'm going to dig up some of the pups that are down at the base of these. It's hard to see in all of this, but a lot of these have little pups around the main plant, and then those can be dug up and moved and start new bushes. So I'm gonna do that too coming up. But today's video is about something much sadder: the lemon tree and the wind. Okay guys, that's all for today. Hope it's not so stormy and freezing as it is here wherever you are. And I know that's relative. Some of you are below 0 Fahrenheit. I feel for you because 23 was way too cold for me. Today it's back up to the upper 30s, and that is fine. Let's hope it stays that way. Bye guys, and remember, you can create the life you want and the garden you want, whatever that might be, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise.